What is straight mineral oil? It is the lubricating oil as obtained by fractional distillation of crude oil. It does not have any additives. What is ashless dispersant oil? A mineral lubricating oil containing additives that disperse the contaminants throughout the oil so they will not clump up and clog oil passages. There are no ash-forming additives in AD oil. What is synthetic oil? A lubricating oil that is made by chemically changing the nature of an oil base to give it the needed characteristics. Synthetic oil is the primary oil for turbine engines. Is automotive oil suitable for use in aircraft engines? No, automotive and aviation oils are formulated for entirely different operating conditions. It is a lubricating oil with a viscosity index improver that increases the viscosity of the oil when it is hot and decreases the viscosity when it is cold. Where can you find the grade of engine oil specific for a particular aircraft? In the airplane flight manual or in the pilot operating handbook for the aircraft. What are 6 functions of the oil in an aircraft engine? Reduces friction, seals and cushions, removes heat, cleans inside the engine, protects against corrosion, performs hydraulic action. What is the purpose of an air-oil separator or deaerator in a turbine engine oil tank? In normal operation, the oil picks up a quantity of air and it is swirled as it enters the deaerator. The swirling action releases the air from the oil, and the air is used to pressurize the oil tank. How is oil pressure regulated in an aircraft engine? A pressure relief valve senses the desired pressure and sends excess oil back into the engine sump. What is the purpose of the restricted orifice in the line between the oil pressure gauge and the engine? The restricted fitting helps dampen any pulsations in the oil pressure caused by the pump. What is a hot tank lubricating system for a turbojet engine? A lubricating system in which the oil cooler is in the pressure subsystem and the scavenged oil is not cooled before it returns to the tank. What is a cold tank lubricating system for a turbojet engine? A lubrication system in which the oil cooler is in the scavenged subsystem and the scavenged oil is cooled before it returns to the tank. Where does a wet sump oil system store oil? In a reservoir inside the engine. Where does a dry sump oil system store oil? In the reservoir outside the engine through the use of a scavenge pump and external tubing. What is the purpose of a chip detector? Magnetic chip detectors are used in the oil system to detect and catch ferrous particles in the oil. During maintenance, the chip detectors are removed from the engine and inspected for metal. If none is found, the detector is cleaned, replaced, and safety wired. If metal is found on the chip detector, an investigation should be made to find the source of the metal on the chip. What components in a reciprocating engine lubrication system must be inspected on a 100-hour or annual inspection? The oil sump or tank, the oil strainer screen, the oil filter, the oil cooler, and the temperature control valve, the oil pressure and temperature gauges, and any transmitters associated with them, and the entire engine for indications of oil leaks. What 2 instruments show the condition of a reciprocating engine lubrication system? Oil pressure and oil temperature gauges. What must be done to an oil filter when it is removed from an engine? It should be cut open and the pleated element examined to determine the type and the amount of contaminant carried in oil. What is a spectrometric oil analysis program? A program in which a sample of oil is taken from the engine at regular intervals and sent to a laboratory where it is burned in an electric arc. The resulting light is analyzed for the wavelengths of the elements that are present in the oil sample. Traces of aluminum, copper, and iron in the oil indicate wear of the pistons or wrist pin plugs, cylinder walls, or piston rings, or main bearings, or bushings. A single sample is meaningless. There must be a series of samples taken at regular intervals to measure the change in the amount of these metals. What type of oil quantity indicator is used in most aircraft engines? a dipstick to measure the quantity of oil in the tank or sump. When should the engine oil quantity be checked on a turbine engine? As soon as practical after the engine is shut down. Where is the oil temperature measured on a reciprocating engine? Usually at the oil pressure screen before the oil goes into the engine passages. Why do engine manufacturers recommend the engine lubricating oil be changed at specific intervals? The oil picks up contaminants and carries them through the engine where they can cause wear. The oil also becomes acidic and causes corrosion in the engine. What problem can improper piston ring conditioning, also known as run-in or break-in, lead to? High oil consumption. What are the causes of high oil consumption in a reciprocating engine? Failing or failed bearings, worn or broken piston rings, incorrect installation of piston rings, external oil leakage, leakage through the engine fuel pump vent, engine breather or vacuum pump breather.